brothers? Welcome back to the Victory Frame Coach podcast. I'm your host, Erasmo Soto, and here we are continuing to explore the Victory Frame model, right? The universal truth and what we use to align ourselves to that truth. Now, the universal truth is that our thoughts create our emotions drive an action, and our actions create the results we want in our lives. And then eventually that result is going to reaffirm that original thought we had about that circumstance. And the circumstances in our lives are completely neutral. We may think they are creating our thoughts, emotions, and actions and results, but this is not true. That is the illusion that we're taught. And that is really why guys in the beta mindset are kind of stuck in the idea that things are happening outside of them, that things are out of their control. And what is determining their emotions, actions, and results is their circumstance, which is completely false. So the universal truth and what we use to align ourselves with the universal truth is called the model, the Victory Frame model. And what the model is just anything in our life, and it puts us in one of those 5 categories, whether it's factual or objective and out of control, which would be a circumstance, or whether it's a sentence in our brain, which is a thought, whether it's a vibration in our body, which is an emotion, whether it's something that we do and don't do. There's a behavior pattern that we have, which is our actions, and eventually what will show up in our life and how it will affect our life and what's happening as a result of that action, which is the actual result. That is the model we use in our program. When we talk about actions, we come to a very interesting part of the model. This is one of my favorite parts of the model because we go up and down the model. But when we get to the action part, we look at how our emotions are driving our actions. Everything we do is because of an emotion. Everything we don't do is also because of an emotion. So we have fear. We're probably going to be in a place where we're not going to act. It's going to be an inaction. And trust me, inaction is an actual action. It's going to be a paralysis or a procrastination. But when we have confidence, we're going to create that massive action. Now, what you need to know about the link between emotion and action is that the single emotion can create different actions. So it could drive different actions. So when you feel confident, you have different postures of confidence. You'll stand in different ways. When you have confidence, you'll have different words. You'll say different things. So a single emotion may create different actions. But every single action is going to determine a specific result. One action for one result, one for one. And that is the law of cause and effect. Now we're going to talk about results next week, which is the 5th component of our model. This is really important because it's like a funnel. We're going to access all these different emotions, and all these different emotions are going to create different actions. Every single action is going to determine one single result. So you can have emotions creating 10 different actions, and every one of those actions is going to create 10 different unique results. Now, I had spent a lot of time talking about men in the alpha mindset being mentally and emotionally responsible men, but I also want you guys to know it's very important that men in the alpha mindset are men of action. So when we talk about action, we're really going to get into some of the different stuff. Thinking and feeling happens in our bodies, right? The thoughts and the emotions, the vibrations that occur in our body, that is purely within us. It is always within us. But action is how we're going to demonstrate to the world what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and essentially who we are as men. Because our actions, and people say our actions speak louder than words, and honestly, that is true. This is a complete fact. Because you can say anything you want. It's also to be said that you can fake behavior as well, which I'll get to in a moment. But when we look at the differences between a true person in the alpha mindset and the other person with the beta mindset, those in the beta mindset, like the Mr. Nice Guy, the bad boy, the perfectionist, you're going to notice a big difference in action. So when we look at this action, and we're talking about how a person in the alpha mindset they act purposefully. They act deliberately, consciously. And I have mentioned a lot about women and wealth and health. These are the three things that I teach mainly to my clients. The guys with the alpha mindset that I spend time coaching my students on wealth, women, and health. But I want you guys to know that these are just, think about it, like electrons. They're just like three electrons circling a nucleus. And the nucleus is you. It is your purpose in life. It is your mission. So the person in the true alpha mindset, it's always bound to its nucleus. And he's always aiming to create and staying to his true purpose in life. That is where you find the true man in the alpha mindset. The person in the alpha mindset is purpose driven, is mission oriented. And these electrons that circle this nucleus, the wealth will come when you are true to your mission, when you are true to your purpose. The woman will be attracted to you when you are staying true to who you are, when you are staying true to your purpose. And your health is a measurement of your purpose, of your mission, and what you're doing in your life. You spend time managing your money, you spend time managing women, you spend time managing your health. Now, these are things that are part of your life. These are the electrons, the surrounding pieces to your nucleus, which is you. All of your action is dedicated to your purpose. All of your action is dedicated to that mission. That is why you are taking action. Now, actions come from emotions because that is part of the universal truth for how life works. Our actions come from our emotions, but our emotions are created by our thoughts, by the sentences in our brain. And these sentences are what we want to try to pay attention to. It's what we want to be deliberate about and be focused about what our purpose is in this life, which is creating the emotions and the drive of the actions that we're looking for. So when I say, why are you taking action? Why are you acting? The answer is because of an emotion. But the truth is, your actions are to determine the results that you want in your life. That law of cause and effect. And that result comes from the desire to fulfill your purpose. Now, guys in the beta mindset are looking at the electrons, right? They're acting to fulfill the result of having a woman. They're acting to fulfill the result of having more money. They're acting as a result to have perfect health. And there's the idea that if I have the perfect body, that I'm good. That if I have this woman, then I'm good. If I have this amount of money, then I'm good. And the man in the alpha mindset is driven by the nucleus, gentlemen, driven by his purpose. You maintain your focus through your purpose. You keep your mindset, you keep your thoughts aimed at your purpose, driving them with massive, confident action and emotion. And your actions will create those results. Now, these electrons, they will keep swirling. They will still be there. They're just kind of like there to support that nucleus in the alpha mindset. Now, let's get back to talking about action again, because there is action regardless of emotion. There's action that we take when we're aware of our thoughts. There's action that we take when we're not aware of it. When we're not aware of our bodies, it's kind of like action, not in spite of negative emotion, but action while resulting or resisting that negative emotion. And we want to be careful with this, because when we talk about action, we want to make sure that our actions are generated by our thoughts and our emotions. We're not going to take action with a lack of awareness of our thoughts and emotions, because that needs immense willpower. Now, you might have heard about willpower before. Willpower exists. Yes, it does. It's there for us. It's kind of like the special tank that gives us the ability to take action. But it gets depleted very fast and doesn't last forever. So when we talk about willpower, you think about somebody who's trying to change their food protocol. If we're talking about nutrition, right? If we're going into the realm of health, they're trying to change their food protocol without changing how they think about food, without being aware of their thoughts about food and their emotions around food. They're just going to change the way they eat. That is the willpower piece. And in that willpower piece, it can last a week, it can last a month. I mean, you've heard these, week-long diets or those 30-day challenges. What happens is that until your willpower is depleted, and then you go back to your old habits because you were unaware. you never changed your thoughts, you never changed your emotions, you didn't have that awareness of what was happening in your mind or what was happening in your body, you were just simply changing the action and resisting what was happening in your mind and your body. And when you do that for too long, your willpower gets depleted. And then you go back to your old habits. And we go back to what we had before. So when we take action in the alpha mindset, we're not taking action with resistance or with a lack of awareness of what's happening in our mind and our emotions. We're taking action with the awareness of what's happening in our mind and body and our emotions. Now, again, guys, this can be an interesting place to be because, well, what if what's happening in our bodies is fear? What if what's happening in our bodies is boredom or procrastination? Like, I'm anxious. I don't want to act. I see a beautiful woman and the person in the beta mindset inside of me is full of fear. I don't want to approach her. I'm afraid what she'll say, and she's beautiful or whatever. So how do I become a person in that alpha mindset? By stepping up and by creating that thought, by having that confidence, by really not caring what she thinks about me, because I am the man. Because you are the fucking prize. Because you think she's the prize. So you're worried about her rejecting you, which is actually you in the beta mindset. But you are the prize, brother. You are the fucking man. Now, how do you take action in spite of having a beta mindset? Well, part of that, we come into coaching. That's where mentorship comes from. But you have to be aware of that mindset. You have to be aware of the thought, and you have to be aware of that emotion. That's why we spend so much time talking about guys in the alpha mindset being mental masters and emotionally responsible men. There has to be awareness in your thoughts, and you have to be aware of what's happening in terms of vibration in your body, because the senses in your mind, guys, understand that the brain is a tool. It works for you, but it can also work against you. You can think anything you want. The thoughts in your mind are in your control. They're not sentences in your brain that you're not in control of. And whatever you're thinking right now is because you're choosing to think it. Contrary to popular belief, I know. A lot of us think that our thoughts are random and they just come in our brains, but they're not. We're actually choosing to think it. And when you see a woman and you think she's beautiful, you're choosing to think that she's out of my league. If you're in this nice guy role where you're thinking, oh, if I can just say something to impress her, that is a thought you're having due to a choice. It's not because of her. It's because of you. So because your brain is a tool, you can think whatever you want to create the emotions that will satisfy your actions. Now, again, we go back and say, yo, coach, look, I get what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but that's too hard. It's too difficult. My whole life, I've been trained to think this way. And honestly, you're absolutely right. That's why we have to rewire that brain. We have to rewire the brain to think in a deliberate way where you can think to create the emotion you want to have, which would then lead to the actions that you're ready to take. So it does take some type of training. It does take some rewiring. It does take learning. It does take a skill set, my brother. It's a skill set. It's not something you're born with. People aren't born with confidence. People aren't born with doubt. They develop these things over time. And that's why you see some men that are naturals with women that are naturally confident. That's why you see some men that are naturally good at making money. They're just naturally out there making tons of money. No. They were taught. They were taught to do these things through life. Some men are easy. Some guys, they stick to a food protocol and it's easy. It's like, oh yeah, the relationship with food is good. Oh, I get to go to the gym every day. Another guy is like, man, it's so hard to eat right. It's so hard for me to go to the gym. This is a trained, conditioned thought pattern that you have developed over your life. And it's the same with women. It's the same with wealth. So really, what we're talking about here is rewiring the brain to create the alpha mindset that is driven by purpose, that is driven by your mission. What is your purpose in life? Find it, stick to it, and don't let anything distract you from it. Now, guys, I know there's a lot going on. There's a lot of negative emotion that's going to happen, right? And we talked about that last week. Negative emotions is important. We have negative emotion. The reason why we have to have negative emotion is for a bunch of reasons. Number one, because negative emotion makes positive emotions better. There cannot be positive without negative. So we have to have this negative emotion in order to have the positive to exist. And the second thing is, because remember what an emotion is. An emotion is just a chemical. It's just a molecule, right? It's something that's in our bodies that unlocks the membrane, the shell of a cell, and then it creates a change in that cell. Now, if we only have positive emotions, you think about it like a drug, like I spoke about it last time. If you only have positive emotions, if we're just doping our bodies with confidence all the time, then our cells is going to get used to that drug of confidence. Like our cells is going to get used to that particular feeling all the time. And once they get used to that feeling, we're going to need more of it to feel the same feeling we had initially, to create that same effect. It builds up like a resistance. So what our body does is it feeds us a little bit of doubt to ease that confidence, right? That way we can stay in a state of health, in a state of balance, in a state of what they call in, chemistry, homeostasis, right? We're feeling 50% emotions, negative emotions, 50% positive emotions. And we're able to have that powerful, massive, actionable emotion when we want versus becomes desensitized to it. So we need our negative emotion, but we need to act in spite of negative emotion. That is the secret sauce. Whatever secret sauce you feel like, guys with confidence do feel negative emotion, but they act on it anyway. And we know positive emotion and negative emotion, comfortable emotion and uncomfortable emotion, but think about the idea of positive and negative action. How do you know which one is which? How is it possible to take action in spite of negative emotion when our emotions drive our actions? So if you're feeling a negative emotion, are you taking a negative action? I want you to really think about this. When we're working on taking action in spite of negative emotion, we don't just abruptly change what's going on in our thoughts. Instead, we add another thought that creates a new emotion and drives a new action, even when the negative thoughts are still there. So many times you'll recognize that negative emotion and you'll change it. You'll be able to be aware. You'll be able to go in there and change it. But sometimes you just need to go to work. Sometimes you just need to take action in spite of what you're feeling. And you still have that old thought running and you still have that negative emotion going, but you create a new thought, a new emotion, and take action anyway. You just do it. And that is why I talk a lot about how even though you have a negative emotion, you can still take action. Guys in the alpha mindset, they are men of action. In fact, fear is still a part of being in the alpha mindset. We still have 50% negative emotion, 50% positive emotion. And to be quite honest with you, without fear, there can be no courage. Without fear, there can be no confidence. You can still create the life you want, despite of fear. You don't have to kill your negative emotion. In fact, half of your life, you're probably going to experience some type of negative emotion. You can still drive the actions that you want, even with that negative emotion there. It's so important that we understand what is happening because a lot of people take action unconsciously of what's going on in their minds. It's important that you know what's going on, but still take action. Be aware, but still take action. Allow those thoughts, allow those negative emotions to be there. Feel that negative emotion, but take the action. And that's very different than not feeling the emotion, resisting the emotion to take action, because we get into willpower. And then we're talking about willpower. And we know that willpower depletes. It goes away eventually. So a lot of us try to pretend like that first emotion isn't there. We resist it. We're just going to ignore it, or we're just going to try to replace it. But what I'm suggesting here is that you actually have two thoughts running. You have two models running, and you take action in spite of the negative model. You've got the negative thought, which is creating that negative emotion, preventing you from taking action. It's like, I don't want to act. I don't want to do it. But then you have that other model running on the other side of your brain, which is the positive emotion driving that positive action, and you just do it. The goal here is to use your action to serve you in everything that you want. That's the goal. That's the alpha mindset. You're results driven. You're mission oriented. You're purpose driven. Half of your emotions are going to be negative. But that doesn't mean that you should take action on those feelings unconsciously. Some negative emotions have appropriate action that you're going to want to take, and you're going to allow that to happen. But you don't want to take action by reacting to that emotion. So if we have that fear, we don't react to it. We feel it and we act anyway. And when we have that boredom, that feeling of like, oh shit, I'm fucking bored as hell. I don't know what to do. Whatever it is, doubt. Oh, I'm doubting myself. Allow it to be there, bro, and act anyway. A lot of my coaching is like this, and I'm very hard on my clients because of this. I'm more of a mindset coach than a fitness and any other type of life coach. I have my clients do a lot of action-based learning because you have to act. You have to be part of this world. You are never going to get the results you want by going from emotion to result. It doesn't work that way. You can't sit in a room and meditate your thoughts and your emotions and create the results you want. You have to act. You can control the results that you get, but you've got to take action. Putting your head on that pillow at night knowing that you fucking killed it, that you had an amazing day, that all the things you set out to do, you did it, is the best fucking feeling in the world. And if you don't already have that experience, then that is the experience that you're looking to get. That is the experience of the man in the alpha mindset that's high performing all the time. Again, I've said it a few times in this podcast. It is, actions is purpose driven. You have a mission. What is my mission today? What am I going to accomplish today? What will I create today? You cannot do that without taking action. So take action in spite of your negative emotions. You've got to get over yourself, bro. You got to get over your excuses. You got to take those excuses and just throw them away. Because what are they? They're just sentences in your brain. They're thoughts. They're creating emotions that are not serving you at all. So get over those emotions, get over those thoughts, move forward anyway, and use your tendency to be efficient. Because that's what the brain really wants, to be efficient. And remember, your brain is a tool for you. It's trying to keep you safe. But the brain is not your controller. The brain is in your control. Your brain wants to chill out. It wants to just relax in a cave. We're talking about caveman here. It just wants to stay in a cave when it's warm, when it's cozy. No. That's not what we're doing. We need to control your brain. You need to be the fucking mindset master that you are. You need to be in the alpha mindset. Get out there, get that shit done. Whatever it is, make it fucking happen. And you set out for whatever it is that you want. You define your purpose, and then you go out there and you achieve that. And that, my friends, is how you live in your victory. That's how you live in your victory frame. Now, thank you very much for listening. Guys, next week we're going to talk about results. The results create evidence for us and then reinforce our current way of thinking. So we're actually going to loop back to the beginning of the model where we have our thoughts through the circumstance, but it's also the last podcast to go deeper into the model and the universal truth, right? I'm really excited for that one, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next week about it. Again, if you have any questions or about this, feel free to drop a comment. You can also go to my website at victoryframecoach.com. And I want you guys to ask me questions anywhere, even my email. My direct email is erasmo@victoryframecoach.com. I'm also on Facebook, Erasmo Soto. I'm on Instagram, Victory Frame. You can find me anywhere. Ask me any questions, all right? Thank you very much, guys. And until next podcast, living your victory. Peace.